He lives in a pineapple under the sea, and for 2 decades, SpongeBob SquarePants has occupied a unique space in our global culture. It premiered in 1999, and the animated series about an optimistic sea sponge living in the underwater city of Bikini Bottom quickly transcended its children's television origins to become a mega franchise and cultural touchstone for generations. Its appeal lies in its distinctive blend of whimsical charm, surreal humor, memorable characters, and clever writing that resonates with both young viewers and adults. It was created by Stephen Hillenburg, a marine biologist turned animator. However, beneath the brightly colored surface and infectious optimism, a dark history exists. SpongeBob SquarePants has consistently been the source of controversy, dark interpretations, and critical debate almost since its inception. Let's look into the disturbing history of SpongeBob. Let's get spooky. Hey, spooky people. It's your best friend Kenny here, and we are back with another disturbing dark history, this time of SpongeBob SquarePants. Before we get into today's video, let's make sure you are subscribed to this channel, The Spooky Lawyer. Let's make sure that you like and share this video. Share this video with your favorite adult SpongeBob SquarePants fan. I know at least one of your friends loves SpongeBob, probably wears SpongeBob shirts or something. Send them this video. See what they think. The creation of SpongeBob SquarePants is linked to the unique background of its creator, Stephen Hillenburg. Before becoming an animator, Hillenburg was deeply immersed in marine science. See what I did there? His fascination with the ocean began in childhood, leading him to study marine biology in college, alongside a minor in art. After graduating from Humboldt State University in 1984 with a degree emphasizing marine resources, he joined the Ocean Institute in Dana Point, California, where he worked as a marine biology teacher for 3 years, educating visitors, particularly children, about marine science and tide pool ecology. Not Tide Pod ecology, okay? We're not going down the Tide Pod rabbit hole again. We are done with that life. It was during his time at the Ocean Institute that the seeds of SpongeBob began to be sown. To better engage his students, Hillenburg wrote and illustrated an educational comic book titled The Intertidal Zone. The comic featured anthropomorphic sea creatures explaining the life found in tide pools. Among its characters was Bob the Sponge, who resembled a natural sea sponge. The Intertidal Zone also featured early versions of other characters like a sea cucumber resembling Kevin C. Cucumber. Although Hillenburg was unsuccessful in getting the comic published, it was an inspiration. He noted how enamored kids are with undersea life, reinforcing his interest in combining his dual passions for marine biology and art. And I think that's a pretty neat background. I think it explains a lot. Despite his rewarding experience teaching, Hillenburg realized his true passion was in art and animation. In 1987, he left the Ocean Institute to pursue an animation career, enrolling in the experimental animation program at the California Institute of Arts in 1989. His thesis film, Wormholes, gained attention at animation festivals. This led to a job offer from Joe Murray, who was the creator of Rocko's Modern Life. Remember Rocko's Modern Life? I remember watching Rocko's Modern Life and thinking it was a pretty disturbing cartoon as a kid. Hillenburg worked as a director on Rocko's Modern Life from 1993 until its cancellation in 1996. Working on Rocko proved pivotal. Hillenburg met Martin Olson, a writer on the show, who saw the Intertidal Zone comic. Olson was impressed and suggested Hillenburg develop it into a series about marine animals. The suggestion, combined with encouragement from other Rocko colleagues like creative director Derek Dryman after the show ended, spurred Hillenburg to formally develop the concept. Hillenburg initially hadn't considered making a show about his comic, but Olson's enthusiasm changed his mind. Drawing inspiration from the Intertidal Zone, Hillenburg began developing the characters, including the sponge, starfish, and crab. He consciously decided against the typical buddy show format at the time, like the Ren and Stimpy show, opting instead for a single character focus. He chose a sponge as the lead due to its versatility and elasticity as an animal. And I guess it was good at soaking a lot of materials up too, right? Wanting a character capable of magical transformations, even though real sponges are largely sedentary. The initial character design evolved. While Bob the Sponge was naturalistic, Hillenburg found the drawing of a square kitchen-type sponge looked funnier and better fit the innocent, squeaky clean, square peg and the round hole personality he envisioned. And he was right. I honestly can't imagine SpongeBob as a blobby, amorphous sponge and not, the square, weird sponge that he is, right? He originally named the character SpongeBoy, but trademark issues with a mop company necessitated a change. God, am I glad it wasn't called SpongeBoy. Hillenburg insisted on keeping Sponge in the name, fearing children might mistake the character for cheese, leading to SpongeBob. He paired SpongeBob with Patrick Star, drawing inspiration from classic comedy duos like Laurel and Hardy. Other elements, like the French narrator, were inspired by oceanographer Jacques Cousteau. In 1998, Hillenburg pitched SpongeBob SquarePants to Nickelodeon. His pitch was elaborate, featuring character models, an aquarium setting, Hawaiian music, and the storyboard for the pilot episode, Help Wanted. Despite initial apprehension from Hillenburg and Dryman about the tight 2-week deadline to produce the pilot, the 11-minute clip impressed Nickelodeon executives so much they immediately greenlit the series. However, early production wasn't without conflict. Nickelodeon executives initially pushed for SpongeBob to be a child attending school, adhering to their perceived winning formula for animated shows. Hillenburg strongly resisted, wanting SpongeBob to be an adult character. He was reportedly prepared to walk away from the project over the issue. Jesus, can you imagine standing up to Nickelodeon, standing up to TV executives like that as like a first-time cartoonist? Like, that's incredible. A compromise was reached with the creation of Mrs. Puff and her boating school, allowing SpongeBob to attend school as an adult, satisfying both Hillenburg's vision and the network's requirement. The early tension highlights the recurring dynamic between creative vision and corporate demands that would continue throughout the show's history. Voice casting also had its hurdles. Tom Kenny, who voiced SpongeBob, had previously used a similar voice for a minor character on Rocko's Modern Life. Hillenburg remembered the voice and declared, "That's it. I don't want to hear anyone else do the voice." Nickelodeon was initially hesitant and wanted to audition more actors, hoping for a celebrity voice. Hillenburg stood firm, demonstrating his strong creative control in the early stages. Tom Kenny developed SpongeBob's unique high-pitched laugh intentionally to be annoying yet memorable, in the tradition of characters like Popeye and Woody Woodpecker, and he succeeded. It is certainly annoying and memorable. The show finally premiered as a preview after the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards on May 1st, 1999, and began its regular run in July 1999. Hillenburg served as showrunner for the first 3 seasons and directed the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, which he originally intended as a series finale. His background, blending marine science education with experimental animation and experience on the quirky Rocko's Modern Life, created a unique foundation for a show that was both educational in its subtle marine details and surreal in its humor and execution. And that's one of the things that a lot of shows today miss out on, are the surrealist aspects of cartoons. When you make a cartoon, you have all of this. You could do anything with your cartoon, right? And you could create these bizarre, surrealistic worlds, and so many new age cartoons or recent cartoons aren't interested in going down those paths. There are numerous SpongeBob SquarePants episodes that are widely considered disturbing, scary, or psychologically unsettling. These episodes often employ elements of body horror, existential dread, psychological distress, morbid plot lines, and unnerving atmospheres, standing in stark contrast to the generally cheery tone of the show. For example, the episode Rock Bottom from season 1 plunges SpongeBob into a literal and metaphorical abyss. After taking the wrong bus home from Glove World, he finds himself stranded in Rock Bottom, a dark, eerie, deep-sea trench populated by bizarre, vaguely menacing creatures. The episode builds an atmosphere of isolation and fear, playing on anxieties of being lost in an unfamiliar and hostile environment. The dimly lit visuals, strange sounds, and the inhabitants' unsettling appearances and behaviors contribute to a pervasive sense of unease. SpongeBob's mounting desperation, amplified by Tom Kenny's voice acting, sells the dark tone. While the episode ends on a positive note, the journey through Rock Bottom remains one of the show's most memorably eerie sequences, functioning potentially as an allegory for anxiety or depression. Its effectiveness lies in creating a palpable sense of dread through the atmosphere and SpongeBob's vulnerability. I Was a Teenage Gary from season 1 ventures into body horror. This episode sees SpongeBob accidentally injected with snail plasma, causing him to slowly and grotesquely transform into a snail. The visual depiction of SpongeBob's metamorphosis, including bulging eyes and sluggish movement, is unsettling and pushes the boundaries of children's animation. The episode parodies classic horror tropes, like werewolf transformations. The disturbing nature is heightened by its lack of clear resolution, as Squidward also gets injected and begins transforming at the end, implying a bleak fate. SB129, Season 1, Episode 14, tackles profound themes of isolation and existential dread. Seeking refuge from SpongeBob and Patrick, Squidward accidentally freezes himself and awakes 2,000 years later in a sterile chrome future. His subsequent travels through time, to a primitive past and then to a blank, white void representing nowhere, no time, evoke deep feelings of loneliness and meaninglessness. The episode uses unsettling visuals and anxiety-inducing music to portray Squidward's panic and existential crisis, making it surprisingly philosophical and a disturbing journey into the nature of time and existence. Graveyard Shift, which is Season 2, Episode 16, is a fan favorite that's often cited for its scariness. The episode uses classic horror storytelling. Forced to work the night shift, Squidward invents the tale of the hash-slinging slasher to frighten SpongeBob. The episode builds suspense effectively as elements of the story seemingly manifest in the dark, empty Krusty Krab. Flickering lights, mysterious phone calls, and the arrival of a shadowy figure create a genuinely creepy atmosphere, punctuated by the character's exaggerated fear responses, like wide eyes with protruding eyelashes. Some viewers found this as unsettling. Shanghai, which is Season 2, Episode 13, features the ghostly Flying Dutchman. The episode leans into overt horror themes as well. SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward are accidentally abducted and enslaved aboard the Dutchman's ship. The episode becomes increasingly terrifying when Squidward is cast into the Fly of Despair, a dimensional rift filled with disturbing, chaotic visuals. The transformation of SpongeBob and Patrick into fruit hunted by the Dutchman adds a bizarre and frightening element. The premises of kidnapping and internal servitude, combined with the surreal horror imagery, makes it a profoundly disturbing episode. The Nasty Patty, which is Season 3, takes a sharp turn into dark thriller territory. Believing they've accidentally killed a health inspector with a tainted Krabby Patty, Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob descend into paranormal, attempting to conceal the crime, including trying to bury the inspector. The episode explored themes of guilt, desperation, and the potential for violence, creating a morbidly humorous yet unsettling scenario. Mr. Krabs wanted to frame SpongeBob for the death, which adds another dark layer. The episode Doing Time from Season 3 explores psychological distress to an uncomfortable degree. After Mrs. Puff is jailed due to SpongeBob's driving, she initially finds peace in prison. However, SpongeBob and Patrick's relentless, misguided attempts to break her out drive her to the brink of insanity. The episode depicts her hallucinations and paranoia with unsettling effectiveness, culminating in an ambiguous ending that suggests her suffering continues. One Course Meal from Season 7 is widely regarded as one of the series' absolute darkest and most controversial episodes. One Course Meal depicts a sustained psychological torture. Mr. Krabs discovers Plankton's intense fear of whales and exploits it mercilessly by dressing as Pearl the whale to torment him. This drives Plankton into a deep state of paranoia and despair, culminating in a scene where he lies in the road, seemingly attempting to unalive himself by bus. While some argue Plankton is merely being dramatic, the depiction of extreme cruelty leading to unaliving ideations was disturbing for many viewers and is often cited as an example of the show going too far. Several later episodes amplified the use of body horror or gross out visuals, which also drew criticism. The Splinter from Season 6 focuses intensely on a festering splinter in SpongeBob's thumb, featuring graphic close-ups of swelling and pus, a la Ren and Stimpy. Its reliance on prolonged, unpleasant visuals was seen by many as disturbing and simply gross rather than funny. Squidward in Clarinet Land utilizes surreal, Lovecraftian horror imagery as Squidward navigates a bizarre, maze-like dimension inside a locker, encountering unsettling visuals like a clarinet forest and being swallowed by a giant eagle head. Krabby Patty Creature Feature from Season 11 features explicit body horror as Bikini Bottomites transform into grotesque Krabby Patty zombies after eating tainted food. A Pal for Gary from Season 7 features Puffy Fluffy, the seemingly cute pet SpongeBob gets for Gary, which transforms into a terrifying sharp-toothed monster that tries to eat Gary. These episodes demonstrate that disturbing content is not just an isolated fluke, but a feature across SpongeBob's history. Whether it's the atmospheric dread, psychological exploration, body horror, or morbid humor, the series has frequently ventured into more unsettling, disturbing territory, shaping its legacy. SpongeBob was released right around the time that the internet really took off, and we know what that means. People have come up with a lot of dark fan interpretations, theories, rumors, and internet folklore regarding SpongeBob. The show's surreal setting, simple yet exaggerated characters, and occasional ambiguities provide ground for fans to seek hidden meanings and disturbing theories. Perhaps the most famous and persistent dark fan theory suggests that Bikini Bottom is located directly beneath the real-world Bikini Atoll in the Marshall Islands, a site used by the United States for 23 nuclear weapon tests between 1946 and 1958. This theory suggests that the anthropomorphic, intelligent, and often bizarre sea creatures inhabiting Bikini Bottom are the result of genetic mutations caused by radioactive fallout from these tests. Supporters of this theory point to the show occasionally mentioning the Pacific Ocean and Marshall Islands location, and the visual resemblance of the cartoon explosions to mushroom clouds. The theory grounds the show's fantasy in a grim historical reality, explaining the characters' strange forms and behaviors as a consequence of human actions. Another theory is the 7 deadly sins theory. This theory is widely circulated and proposes that the main characters each represent one of the 7 deadly sins. Mr. Krabs embodies greed to his obsessive love of money. Plankton represents envy through his constant desire for Krabs' success and the Krabby Patty formula. Patrick Star is sloth, characterized by his laziness and lack of ambition. Sandy Cheeks embodies pride with her boasting about her Texan heritage and scientific prowess. Squidward represents wrath through his perpetual anger and frustration. Gary the Snail is gluttony, always demanding food, and SpongeBob himself is often linked to lust, although not interpreted in a sexual sense, but as an excessive desire for friendship, approval, or life experiences. And this theory is plausible because it stems from the characters' designs, which often exaggerate single core personality traits to extreme degrees. This theory imposes a moral framework onto the show, suggesting Bikini Bottom functions as a microcosm where human failings are put on display. Fans have also frequently interpreted the characters' exaggerated personalities through the lens of modern psychology and pathology, suggesting each character represents a specific mental disorder, such as SpongeBob having ADHD due to his hyperactivity and lack of focus, Squidward having social anxiety disorder or depression, Mr. Krabs having obsessive compulsive disorder or narcissistic personality disorder, Patrick having an intellectual disability, Sandy having borderline personality disorder, Plankton possibly also having a narcissistic personality disorder, and Pearl having a body dysmorphic disorder or inferiority complex. Some theories also suggest that the characters' behaviors result from drug addiction. SpongeBob's energy from speed, Patrick's lethargy from marijuana, Squidward's misery from opiates. You should tell me in the comments what you think about some of these theories. Like, do you buy into these theories where each of these characters represents a single thing or a single affliction or a single, disorder? Let me know. Beyond these major theories, there are numerous other dark interpretations. Some focus on the mystery of the Krabby Patty secret formula, suggesting it contains ingredients like crab meat, implying cannibalism by Mr. Krabs, or even cocaine. Others delve into character backstories, theorizing Mr. Krabs adopted Pearl after her biological whale parents were killed by whalers, or that he is raising her for eventual slaughter. Patrick's occasional malice has led to theories of him having antisocial personality disorder, and even SpongeBob's relentless optimism and apparent immortality have been interpreted darkly, suggesting he might be trapped in a form of purgatory, endlessly repeating his routine without awareness. The prevalence of these dark fan theories operate as a form of modern folklore, allowing audiences, often adults engaging with media from their youth, to grapple with complex and often disturbing real-world issues. The Bikini Atoll theory connects the cartoon to historical trauma, Cold War anxieties, and environmental concerns. The 7 deadly sins theory provides a framework for exploring morality and human failings. The mental illness and drug addiction theories reflect contemporary societal dialogues and the increasing tendency to view behavior through psychological or pathological lenses. By projecting these concerns onto the familiar, malleable world of Bikini Bottom, fans use the show as a vehicle for processing anxieties that might be too difficult or complex to address directly. The theories, therefore, reveal as much about the cultural preoccupations of the audience as they do the potential subtext for the show itself. A phenomenon related to these fan theories is the emergence of SpongeBob-themed creepypastas. Creepypastas refer to horror legends and stories disseminated across the internet, often characterized by their attempt to blur the lines between fiction and reality through first-person narratives, claims of found footage, or lost media, with unsettlingly realistic details. A common subgenre involves lost episodes of beloved children's shows, which purport to reveal disturbing, hidden content. Squidward's Unaliving, or Red Mist, is the most infamous SpongeBob creepypasta. The narrative typically takes the form of an alleged first-hand account from a Nickelodeon intern or staff member who viewed a supposedly lost SpongeBob episode. The lost episode is described as featuring distorted animation, unsettling audio, hyper-realistic and bloodshot eyes on the characters. The climax involves Squidward, after being booed off stage during a clarinet performance, sitting on his bed sobbing before graphically unaliving himself, accompanied by a deep voice commanding him to do it. The story emphasizes the disturbing realism and the psychological trauma inflicted on those who supposedly viewed it. While its exact origin is murky, it likely emerged from anonymous online forums like 4chan, known for spawning such content, likely between 2006 and 2011. Squidward's Unaliving creepypasta exemplifies a potential form of internet horror that specifically targets the perceived innocence of children's media. It plays on nostalgia and the trust associated with familiar characters, generating horror by suggesting a hidden malevolent reality beneath a cheerful facade. The use of tropes like lost media and hyper-realistic details and graphic content aims to disrupt the viewer's sense of safety and question the boundary between harmless entertainment and something sinister. It leverages the unique characteristics of internet culture: anonymity, rapid dissemination, collaborative storytelling, and the blurring of authorship to create a uniquely modern horror narrative. Adding a bizarre layer of reality, the show itself briefly included a visual reference to the red mist image in the episode SpongeBob in Random Land, which was quickly censored after its initial airing, creating an unusual feedback loop between the unofficial fan horror and the official production. Beyond fan theories and internet folklore, SpongeBob SquarePants has attracted considerable attention from academic critics, media analysts, and cultural commentators. These analyses often move beyond surface-level entertainment to explore potential psychological underpinnings, sociological reflections, political allegories, and even queer subtexts within the show's seemingly simple framework. This critical discourse reveals the show's capacity to function as a complex text rather than just a cartoon. One prominent area of critical focus has been the show's potential psychological effect on young viewers. A 2011 study by Angeline Lillard and Jennifer Peterson at the University of Virginia suggested that watching just 9 minutes of the fast-paced SpongeBob impaired executive functions, such as attention, problem-solving, and self-control, in preschool-aged children immediately afterward. The researchers hypothesized that the rapid scene changes and fantastical, nonsensical events might disrupt concentration. Kind of like what TikTok was. You could suggest that SpongeBob was perhaps the early TikTok. This study received a significant amount of media attention and fueled concerns about the cognitive impact of certain types of children's programming. However, it also faced criticism. Nickelodeon responded by stating the show's target audience is 6 to 11-year-olds, not preschoolers, and questioned the study's methodology. Critics like Walter Brash argued the study failed to consider that children might simply be more engaged by SpongeBob and temporarily less interested in subsequent tasks, rather than suffering cognitive deficits, and pointed out the study's non-random, primarily white, middle to upper class sample. Despite the debates of the study, it reflected a persistent societal anxiety regarding the influence of fast-paced, fantastical media on child development, placing SpongeBob at the center of this discussion. It also shows that this discussion is nothing new, and the arguments of kids having tablets and TikTok and YouTube, these arguments have been going on for a very long time. Other critiques have focused on the psychological makeup of characters themselves, moving beyond fan theories of specific diagnoses. Some analyses frame SpongeBob's behavior, such as living in a pineapple, as unusual according to classifications of abnormal psychology, highlighting his deviation from the norms of Bikini Bottom. More complex psychoanalytic readings have also emerged. For instance, Judith Halberstam's analysis interprets Squidward's dynamic with SpongeBob in the episode Dying for Pie through the lens of the Freudian death drive, suggesting Squidward can only form meaningful connections through trauma and the avoidance of pain. These critical interpretations often apply psychological frameworks to understand the exaggerated behaviors and relationships within the show, reflecting a broader cultural tendency to psychoanalyze fictional characters and explore themes of normalcy, trauma, and mental health through popular media. The social dynamics and workplace settings of Bikini Bottom have also invited sociological and political interpretations. Some academic work analyzes the show through the sociological theories of friendship, reciprocity, influence, and social bonds, using episodes like FUN, where SpongeBob tries to befriend Plankton, as case studies. Others have argued that despite its surface absurdity and potential countercultural vibe, the show subtly reinforces traditional American ideologies, particularly the American dream, through its portrayal of work ethic, consumerism, and social hierarchy. The disturbing history of SpongeBob SquarePants also has had real-world controversies involving censorship, public backlash, and debates over the show's content and appropriateness. Several episodes have been temporarily or permanently removed from broadcast rotation or streaming platforms due to controversial content. For example, Midlife Crustacean from Season 3, which originally aired in 2002, featured Mr. Krabs experiencing a midlife crisis and joining SpongeBob and Patrick for a night out. The controversial segment involves the trio embarking on a panty raid, culminating in them attempting to steal underwear from Mr. Krabs' own mother. Around 2018, Nickelodeon quietly pulled the episode from its broadcast schedule, and it was subsequently found missing from streaming services like Paramount Plus and Amazon Prime Video in the USA. Nickelodeon later confirmed the removal, stating that following a standards review, we determined that some story elements were not kid appropriate. Quarantine Crab from Season 12 was written years before the COVID-19 pandemic and depicts Krusty Krab being placed under quarantine due to an outbreak of clam flu. In March 2021, it was revealed that Nickelodeon had decided not to air the episode due to sensitivities surrounding the global real-world pandemic. This removal was temporary, acknowledging the unfortunate timing and thematic parallels rather than the inherent inappropriateness of the content itself. The episode was eventually made available for viewing starting in May 2022. The Great Snail Race from Season 3. The plot involves SpongeBob rigorously and arguably cruelly training Gary for a snail race, pushing him to exhaustion and causing him to crash dramatically during the event. Some animal activists criticized the episode for depicting animal abuse, fearing it might influence children negatively. However, Nickelodeon has not officially stated this episode was banned for content. Its absence from rotation was primarily due to being paired with the banned Midlife Crustacean. It has since been repaired with a different episode on platforms like Amazon Prime, indicating is not subject to the same ban as its original episode partner. There have been specific scenes within episodes that have also been altered or removed after their initial airing. Just One Bite, Season 3, features a scene at the end of the episode where Squidward breaks into Krusty Krab's patty vault in a frenzy of addiction. Originally depicted him accidentally dousing himself in gasoline from a falling lantern, followed by SpongeBob lighting a match and inadvertently setting Squidward ablaze. This sequence was cut out from subsequent US airings and some home media releases. Explanations for the censorship vary, often citing heightened sensitivities following the September 11th attacks, or general concerns about depicting dangerous actions like playing with fire to a young audience. Reports exist of other minor edits, such as shortening the infamous toenail ripping scene in House Fancy, or potentially trimming other moments deemed too intense or graphic, like SpongeBob drilling Squidward's teeth. One of the most persistent and high-profile controversies surrounding SpongeBob revolves around the perceived sexual orientation of its main character. Beginning as early as 2002, some conservative groups and commentators accused the show of promoting homosexuality. The episode Rockabye Bivalve features SpongeBob and Patrick adopting and parenting a baby scallop in traditionally gendered roles. This was frequently singled out as promoting gay marriage or relationships. The controversy escalated in 2005 when SpongeBob appeared in a multi-character music video produced by the We Are Family Foundation to promote diversity and tolerance among children. Conservative Christian groups, notably Focus on the Family, led by James Dobson, condemned the video, claiming its inclusion of sexual identity in its tolerance pledge, and SpongeBob's participation amounted to pro-homosexual advocacy aimed at children. Creator Stephen Hillenburg has repeatedly addressed these claims, stating unequivocally that the characters were not intended to be gay, famously describing them as asexual, emphasizing that the show's focus was purely on humor and friendship, drawing parallels to platonic comedy duels like Sesame Street's Ernie and Bert. He largely dismissed the controversy as missing the point of the show. Despite these denials, debates have continued, fueled by the character's close bond and SpongeBob's sometimes non-stereotypically masculine traits. The controversy arguably reached its form of resolution in 2020 when Nickelodeon's official Twitter account included SpongeBob in a post celebrating Pride Month alongside other LGBTQ+ characters and allies, widely interpreted as confirming SpongeBob's place within the community, though the exact nature of his identity asexual, ally, etc., remains open to interpretation. The show has received backlash for profanity and language. An episode entitled Sailor Mouth featured SpongeBob and Patrick discovering bad words, which was represented by comical dolphin chirps and other sound effects, drew criticisms from groups like Parents Television Council. They argued the episode satirized and potentially encouraged the use of profanity among children despite the words themselves never being uttered. SpongeBob has received criticism for violence and behavior. Beyond specific episodes, the show has faced criticism for its level of cartoon violence or potentially modeling negative behavior. In 2014, Kazakhstan's education minister claimed the show was too violent and called SpongeBob a self-absorbed hooligan. I guess you could say the Kazakhstani education minister did not think SpongeBob was very nice. SpongeBob episodes touching on environmentalism, corporate critique, or unemployment have been interpreted and criticized through political lenses, accused of promoting specific agendas. SpongeBob has also had some promotional materials that have generated controversy. A 2009 Burger King commercial promoting SpongeBob toys featured a parody of Sir Mix-a-Lot's Baby Got Back with square butt dancers. The campaign for a commercial-free childhood condemned the ad as sexist and inappropriately sexualized for its target audience of young children. A later movie tie-in poster parodying 50 Shades of Grey also drew criticism for being inappropriate, and even showrunner Paul Tibbitt conceded it was a little bit uncomfortable. You think? There have also been controversies relating to SpongeBob's production history and dynamics within the show. For example, the existence of a secret book titled Behind Closed Doors, created in 2001, which was compiled by writer and director Sam Henderson, contained crude, humorous, and often graphic drawings made by the storyboard artists on Post-it notes depicting the characters in inappropriate and adult situations. The book was created as an end-of-season in-joke among crew and never intended for public release, and the book featured anagrams of the artist names to maintain anonymity. Although the book was never publicly released, the existence of the book suggests a layer of transgressive adult humor existing among the creators themselves, running parallel to the relatively wholesome show being produced and broadcast. While the creator of SpongeBob Hillenburg embraced the odd and bizarre aspects of his creation, there is little direct evidence from available interviews or statements to suggest he intended for the show to convey the extreme dark themes often attributed to it. His emphasis on innocence and humor suggests that while the show might touch upon negative emotions or scary situations, the intended tone was likely comedic or focused on overcoming adversity through optimism, rather than dwelling on profound darkness. However, his known creative process involved meticulous planning and allowing for improvisation from voice actors like Tom Kenny, letting them take it where it feels funny. That flexibility could potentially lead to unexpected tonal shifts or moments that resonated differently than intended. Paul Tibbitt, who took over as showrunner after Hillenburg stepped down, offered insights, though his perspective is somewhat viewed through the lens of the perceived quality decline during his tenure. He acknowledged that certain marketing decisions like the 50 Shades of Grey parody poster could be seen as a little inappropriate or uncomfortable, suggesting an awareness of potential boundaries, even if driven by marketing goals. He also praised voice actors' ability to improvise and embody the characters, sometimes better than the writers themselves. Juxtaposing these creator statements with the vast landscape of interpretations discussed earlier, the disturbing episodes, the dark fan theories, the creepypastas, the various readings, the real-world controversies, reveals a significant disconnect. The intended innocent, funny Sponge living in a whimsical underwater world became, in the eyes of many, a resident of a post-nuclear wasteland, an allegorical figure of sin or mental illness, a queer icon, and the star of episodes exploring profound psychological distress and even horror. This illustrates the limits of creator intent in controlling the meaning of a cultural work. Once SpongeBob SquarePants entered the cultural sphere, it became subject to interpretive frameworks, contexts, and the personal experiences of its diverse audiences. Audiences found meetings related to historical trauma, morality, mental health, identity, and existential dread that diverged significantly from Hillenburg's stated intentions. The work took a life of its own. The show's creative strengths played a crucial role in enabling these interpretations. The minimalist art style, the exaggerated character archetypes, and the often surreal, logic-defying plots were likely chosen to maximize comedic potential and ensure broad appeal. However, they allowed viewers and critics to fill in the gaps with their own assumptions and interpretations, projecting complex psychological motivations and subversive subtext onto relatively simple scaffolding provided by the show. The global choices to make SpongeBob a global phenomenon also inadvertently made it a vessel capable of containing a multitude of interpretations, including those that were profoundly disturbing and far removed from the creator's original, more innocent vision. The controversies and dark interpretations have kept SpongeBob relevant across generations and demographics, providing material for critical analysis, fan speculation, and public debate. These elements prevented the show from fading into simple nostalgia or being confined solely to the realm of children's entertainment, and they ensure its continued presence in a broader cultural discourse, engaging older audiences who find layers of meaning beneath the surface. SpongeBob SquarePants is a powerful testament to the uncontrollable nature of meaning in popular culture. Despite Hillenburg's clear statements regarding the show's innocent and humorous intentions, the creation took on a life of its own, absorbing, see what I did there, and reflecting a spectrum of interpretations. SpongeBob's disturbing history is not an aberration, but a consequence of its unique creative DNA interacting with diverse audiences and involving cultural contexts. It is a complex, contradictory, and enduring show, whose legacy is continually shaped by the tension between the cheerful sponge on screen and the often murky waters of interpretation surrounding him. Please make sure that you are subscribed to this channel, The Spooky Lawyer. Please make sure that you like and share this video. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky. My usernames on Twitter and Blue Sky are The Spooky Lawyer. Go ahead and follow me on TikTok. My username on TikTok is AKBrews. If you would like me to investigate a spooky or disturbing story, leave a comment in the comment section or send me an email. My email address is thespookylawyer@gmail.com. If you'd like to support the channel, you can make a donation. There is a super thanks button in the YouTube toolbar. You can click it and make a donation. Thank you to the people who have already donated to this channel. I'm going to put their names up here. Thank you very much. Any money that gets donated to this channel will be used to make better videos for you guys. My current upload schedule is uploading videos on Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. So check in Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday nights to see my new videos. I also do a premiere of the new videos on those nights, generally at 7 p.m. Central Time. If you would like to come, there is a live chat and we can watch the video together. I will make comments about various interesting things about the video, or at least things I think that are interesting about the video. I don't promise that you'll find them interesting, but hopefully you do. You also support me by continuing to watch my videos, and that means a lot to me. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching my videos. And please stay spooky.